Hello everyone, Operator Starsky here, and as usual, a bunch of news. I see that people just finished watching videos from Anna from Ukraine, also Ukraine Matters. I think he's streaming right now, so I think that I will steal a bit of his viewers. Anyways, we have a bunch of news. As of yesterday, 810, as of this morning, 810 orcs were eliminated according to our General Staff of Ukraine. 810 is a big number, considering the number of wounded is usually 2-3 times bigger. I see a lot of familiar names in the chat. Hi everybody. Okay, and we know that Ukrainian aviation, specifically our attack aviation, was very, very active these days. And we also know that some unrecognized objects hit Crimea again. So yesterday there was an air alert in Crimea. We can see those tracing bullets flying in the night sky. Obviously they are so surprised, how could this happen? And then there's something goes off. Again, guys, we are broadcasting from Ukraine, that's why some lags might be expected. And we also know that this morning Russia conducted a artillery strike on Zaporizhia region. We can see some buildings, again, civilian buildings hit as usual by Russian terrorists. There's a big hole in the roof of a residential building. I used to live in such building once. And we know that a bunch of strikes were also conducted in different locations along the front line. We know that in Berislav, a family died, a mother, father, and their 12-year-old daughter. And today we learned that Putler decided to ask for a ceasefire, which is very interesting. So they explained this, that Orthodox people must have opportunity to visit church on Orthodox Christmas, which is on 7th of January. Basically 6th of January is a Christmas Eve in Orthodox, Orthodox world. So will this work? And why it won't? The reason number one, Ukrainians celebrated Christmas on 25th of December, like the rest of the civilized world. And also we had a poll, and majority of Ukrainians voted to celebrate Christmas on 25th of December, like everybody else in, and it's so funny that terrorists ask for a ceasefire. Obviously, I I understand why, because they need at least some break. Ukrainians have a lot of, my God, how do you call this word? So we have the initiative, right? And we are not losing our initiative. We're trying to be one step ahead of our enemies and strike the strategically important targets before they are before they have opportunity to be guarded better, protected better, as soon as their ammo arrives, before being disseminated between different storages. We're striking it, and we are trying to push as much as we can. Of course, Russians need at least some kind of ceasefire, some kind of rest, so they could use this time for their own benefit, of course. And I think you understand why this ceasefire will not happen. I already hear all those people, individuals, right, screaming about those aggressive fascist Ukrainians who don't let peaceful Russian invaders to celebrate their Orthodox Christian holiday. But you understand why it's impossible, why we will not do this, why we will not agree on the ceasefire, and basically why we will not agree on ceasefire in the closest future, because we will lose our initiative otherwise. And we need to be 1-2 steps ahead of our enemies at all times if we want to finish this war earlier. A lot of our authorities already expressed their opinion. For example, in his Telegram channel, Andriy Yermak, he's a chief of the Office of the President of Ukraine. He already expressed that HIMARS are laughing at such offers from Russians. And by the way, Christian Orthodox Christmas, I mean, 1/3 of Russian army consists of Muslims who don't celebrate Christmas. Another part of their army consists of people from Buryatia, Yakutia. Basically, those are Buddhists. They have different religion as well. They also don't celebrate Christmas, which is again very, very funny, because Russians use those foundations of the Russian world. The Orthodox Christianity, Russian Christian Church, that mainly consists of KGB agents, and things like that, Russian language. And they use all kinds of people, like Muslim people from Chechnya and Dagestan and Ingushetia and Ossetia and things like that, and Buryats, that some of them don't even speak Russian, and also they don't celebrate Christian holidays because they have different religion. They kind of burn down all of those people in a meat grinder of a war to protect the foundations of the Russian world, which is kind of fascist, in my opinion. So, returning to this publication, and another funny thing is that, it's so funny when they strike Ukraine twice during New Year's holiday. They launched almost 90 drones at Ukrainian cities. Majority of them were aiming Kiev. They launched more than 20 missiles on the New Year's Eve at Ukrainian cities, and now they're begging about a Christmas ceasefire. This is so ridiculous, guys. I mean, I don't remember like during this Russian invasion of Chechnya on a New Year, when my Kopsk brigade of Russian Federation was completely eliminated by Chechen fighters. I don't remember Putin calling President Dudayev about a Christmas ceasefire. It would be so ridiculous, right? Anyways, you probably remember this man. I'm talking about that idiot next to the other idiot. So that one, the bigger one, is Ukrainian ex-president, Ukrainian dictator Yanukovych, who fled to Russia after the Revolution of Dignity. And before, I think, March, I think it was around March. So in the beginning of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, this man, Yanukovych, was noticed in Minsk, Belarus. And I think Ukrainian viewers remember that. He was spotted in Minsk. We had reports that Russians brought Yanukovych to Minsk, and Yanukovych, according to Russian propaganda, Yanukovych is still a legitimate president of Ukraine, even despite the fact that he was he ran away from Ukraine. He was hiding in Russia, in Rostov, and he was like according to Russian propaganda again, he was like a president in exile, right? So he was spotted in Minsk as soon as this invasion started, and recently we had some very, very interesting interview with our chief of Council of Defense and Security of Ukraine, Mr. Danilov, who said that the reason why Yanukovych was brought to Minsk was basically because, according to all the plans that were found among the Russian remains, Russia planned to occupy left Ukraine, everything, let's say, to the right from Kiev, right? It's cities like Kiev, Sumy, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, of course, Kherson, Mykolaiv. They planned, sorry, not Mykolaiv. So they planned to occupy whole left bank of Ukraine before March the 7th, before 7th of March. And then they planned to occupy the rest of Ukraine, including Lviv, Chernivtsi, and all other cities, in just about 19-20 days, which was kind of optimistic, I would say. And I can say that, again, according to all those plans, specifically, there were numerous route plans found among Russian remains, and they show that the routes were planned as if there wasn't supposed to be any resistance at all. And that's why Russians were so surprised when Ukrainian troops started eliminating them at incredible numbers, sometimes thousands of Russian terrorists per day would be killed, and much more would be wounded, of course. We know that the approximate numbers are 1 dead to 3 or 4 wounded in Russian army. So that was the plan, and that is very, very interesting. Again, a lot of experts on the east, on the west, predicted that Ukraine was gonna give up. Didn't happen because people didn't know a lot about Ukrainians, obviously. But again, I think it's our fault. I blame bad marketing for that. Those of you who remember my unboxing video of Russian Orlan will like this one. So recently, using our high-tech rifles that were created to land the drones, this Orlan, it's a Russian reconnaissance UAV, was forced to land, and what makes it interesting, if you take a close look where the wing starts with that red airbag on the background, you can see there's some kind of container, right? So this container contains those smaller bomblets, and this screenshot was taken from a Russian video on a Russian TV, where of course they bragged about having the most unique UAVs in the world that will not be detected by NATO radars, and they will fly, play balalaika, and drink vodka at the same time. So, as they usually say. So, in May 2022, Russians bragged very much about creating a unique strike UAV, and basically what they did, they took the very same Orlan, which again doesn't contain any Russian-made parts, right? Besides the body, okay, and they attached those containers with those bomblets. And last year in Russian media, there was a big investigation, and of course I'm talking about their opposition. There was a big investigation regarding this, and appears that such drones were specifically created to for one purpose: money laundering by Shoigu, as you probably know, which was kind of funny. We suspect that tens of millions of Russian rubles were stolen this way from grateful Russian citizens, and again, such UAV that you see here, according to Russian Ministry of Invasion, every such UAV costs between $80,000 and $120,000 to produce. So it consists of Japanese engine, Japanese motor that is used in RC models. It contains a fuel tank made of a plastic bottle. I think they used Coca-Cola bottles before they ran out of Coca-Cola. I'm not kidding. If you want to see more, you gotta check my videos. The video is called Unboxing of Russian UAV. And things like that. And of course they contain that Canon photo camera stuffed into it. With all those switches glued into a specific place, or was it Nikon? I think it was Canon. I don't remember. I don't care. $120,000 for that. It's amazing. It shows just how genius Russians are in, like stealing and laundering and that kind of business. And by the way, no, I will show that a bit later. Less funny news. So according to UNHCR, 7,900,000 Ukrainians were recorded as refugees across Europe. So basically, each fifth Ukrainian woman and children had to search for a safer place abroad. I have big flashbacks because personally I worked in the World Bank group back in my days in 2008 and 2009, and I remember we cooperated very closely with the UN, and my colleague, she worked with me in the World Bank in the external affairs team, and then she was transferred to the UN, specifically to the UNHCR department, and she had a lot of deployments in African countries, for example, and it's so unusual because we used to be part of this team. We used to work together, have same missions and deployments with the UN, and now they are doing such reports. I still cannot fully realize this, even after 316 days of the war. It's so crazy. But next video is kind of funny. I will translate it for you because it contains Russian subtitles. So those are two, how you call them, representatives of the Russian cannon fodder, also known as mobilized soldiers, and they are nagging about being sent into a meat grinder without supplies. And this is a very special one. You will absolutely love it. So they say the conditions of living in the infantry is horrible. We are making this video for ourselves because on the TV they only show beautiful parades, Russian airborne troops and Marines, but we are here on the front lines. They said that mobilized would not be sent to the front lines, but mobilized are specifically sent to the front lines. Command is very weak. Army is oh my god, I lost it. We are on the front lines for the 5 days. They gave us MRE at the first day, and the food finished. We don't have water, and we are starving. Since the times of the Second World War, nothing changed in the army, and they swear a lot in Russian, but anyways. So they only show their vehicles on the parades. Russian artillery shoots from over there, and if they give them the wrong coordinates, they will hit us. We are simple people who served in the 90s, and now we are fighting on the front line to conquer Ukraine. Another interesting thing is that I think that sometime in the future we will see less such videos because Russians will start confiscating their cell phones. I personally think so, because during this recent strike in Makiivka, when Russian troops lost I think they could be either Buryats or Yakuts, because in this video they speak their own their local language. It's not Russian, so I cannot recognize it. Russian command blames Russian mobilized men who died in the strike in Makiivka because they used their cell phones. And we also know, we also remember that during the invasion, Russians were deprived of their phones, so they couldn't call back, they couldn't call home when they were entering Ukraine, when they were crossing the border. This can happen, I think. We don't see a lot of videos from Russian side. There are videos, but they're not as numerous as videos made by Ukrainians and showing hundreds of Russian soldiers eliminated every day on the battlefield. And on this video, Russian terrorists were recorded doing something they do best. Of course, we are talking about looting and raiding abandoned houses. So here we can see a bunch of individuals stealing stuff from Ukrainian people. Basically, I think they raided a bunch of Ukrainian houses on the occupied territory, and now they're bringing that looks like a carpet to me, actually. I think that one is a carpet. Yeah, it's like a carpet and a mattress and a baby trolley with goods in it. I'm not surprised. I'm not sure whether you are surprised seeing them like this. I mean, it's a completely natural thing for Russian looters. I still cannot forgive them my laundry machine in my previous apartment. When I moved in and I wanted to wash my clothes, and then because this apartment and this very house was looted when Hostomel was occupied by Russian terrorists, apparently they wanted to steal the laundry machine from that apartment that eventually I rented, and they cut the pipe with a knife. So when I started the machine, I noticed that there are no pipes coming from machine to other pipes. Nothing is connected. And then I peeked behind the laundry machine. I noticed that the pipe was cut, that plastic hole. It was cut with a knife. But something didn't let them take it away. My God. And of course they stole carpet. I mean, it's all about carpets. Okay, and we're moving on to more cheerful news. So I really like this one. This is Kharkiv Spring 2022. And now you can see the same very house Winter 2022, December. Just check out the way we rebuild stuff. And if you were to Bucha, for example, or Hostomel, actually Hostomel is bombed, shelled, destroyed, actually. A bit more than Bucha. Here in Hostomel we have plenty of houses that were completely destroyed or burned down because we had a lot of combat going on in this area. But there's my buddy Brandon. Hi, buddy. Brandon is currently in Bakhmut. You definitely gotta watch his new video about skincare. It's very important. You gotta check out his Instagram, for example. I think it's there. So Bucha is not as destroyed as Hostomel. We have plenty of houses that were completely erased from the face of the earth, and my favorite cafeteria and my favorite mall were destroyed as well. Gotta find new ones. But as for Bucha, still there were a bunch of houses that were damaged pretty bad, and currently I think almost all of them were repaired. Irpin is being repaired as well. It received some damage from Russian tanks. The columns of Russians tried to penetrate into Irpin and find way to Kiev and things like that. Recently, I think I saw that bank that was robbed by Russians. It's on the CCTV. You can find it on YouTube actually, and it's repaired and it's open. It works. So I think eventually no traces of Russian invasion will remain in Ukraine, except for thousands of killed Ukrainians and multiple graves. But I think we are running out of news, and I think that we can answer some questions in the chat. Yes, and Brandon is of course worth subscribing. I think you gotta check out his channel and find a lot of great content there. And I think do we have Bogdan here? Not sure if it's Bogdan. But anyways. Could you please give us an update on Solidar? It looks like the Russians have accumulated a lot of forces there. It is true. I can say that they have advantage in terms of artillery and troops at this very moment in the area of Solidar, but I can say that the situation with Rubizhne and Severodonetsk should not happen again. Because now we know how to act, now we have more artillery, our aviation is active again during this incredible heroic defense of Rubizhne and Severodonetsk. We neither had enough artillery nor we had aviation. Currently it's different. What is Brandon's channel? So it's Ukraine underscore TBIC. Understroke. You know what I mean. Christina asks, wait, is this the punching dummy or operator Starsky? For those who don't know, I posted this picture on Instagram, me next to a punching dummy, and today I realized why I suck at boxing so much. Even despite I duck and sleep and stuff like that, but I always get punched in the head because I literally look like a boxing dummy. People all around the globe learn how to punch me, so I think that's the reason. Okay, we have LSA here. Jean says, enjoy your Kutia tomorrow, man. Thank you so much. I hope I will. Holostarsky, how is Grandpa? I have to visit him. I gotta remind myself to visit him. But I think I saw him on a Telegram. I think I did. Bradleys are confirmed for Ukraine. We know that President Biden, I think, mentioned it, and I would like to make a review of one, and I think I will have opportunity to do that. So As a former commander of a BTR-3, I would be glad to make a review of Bradley. I wonder if they're much bigger than BTRs or the same size and their characteristics. So I think I should definitely do a review and drive it if I can. Can we get a Fudge update? Fudge is doing great. He is sleeping because he spends like 18 hours a day sleeping. The rest of his time he's just being cuddled, or he eats, or wandering outside. And nowadays we have some like drizzle and rain in Hostomel, and Fudge hates water because he was a stray dog, so he prefers staying inside. Oh yeah, I see. It's so Bradley is taller than BTR. That's what I noticed. Why bigger vehicles are not like bad? Why they're bad? I don't like calling Bradley bad before I see it, but why we prepare having a smaller silhouette, smaller profile of a vehicle is obviously because we want to avoid being hit by ATGMs and things like that. I would like to make a review. Totally. Marder should be bigger too. Yeah, I think so. 18 hours is normal amount of sleep for dogs. It's true. I know that wolves, wild wolves, for example, sleep 15, 18 hours a day. And they feel totally fine. I wish I could do that. AMX-10 tanks are coming. I wouldn't call them tanks because they don't have like tracks, they are rather like infantry fighting vehicles. Guys, in America, do you have this term infantry fighting vehicle? Because I think it was only invented in Soviet times by Russians. I know you call it APCs. Or do you have a difference between APCs and vehicles specifically created to carry personnel and provide covering fire for troops? It's a very interesting topic. Yeah, infantry fighting. Okay, guys. Because, like, one time I talked to one of the guys from my brigade. He spoke perfect English, but he learned English in school basically, and he talked about IFVs, and yeah, APC is different than IFV. Yeah, that's because we have like BMPs and BTRs. Those are basically IFVs and APCs. I thought IFV was like a direct translation of BMP. Which it was, actually, yeah. Yes, Brandon. London is the capital of Great Britain. Oh my god, he knows stuff. Yeah. I remember my lessons of English back in my school. It was hilarious. APCs have bigger guns than IFVs. I wouldn't say so. They have different purpose. So IFVs used mostly, for example, like BMD in Russian airborne troops. Those are used to provide covering fire for infantry and troops, and APCs are used to basically deliver personnel, but they are not used to actively participate in combat. However, in Ukraine they were used like that for quite a long time, since 2014. Is the AMX tank good? We will see. I mean, if I could, I would definitely make a lot of reviews of those vehicles. Unfortunately, in my brigade, the most foreign stuff that I saw was like a M60 machine gun and AR-10 and AR-15. No, they were Ukrainian made AR-10s and AR-15s. Greetings from Uruguay. Could you make an update about Witch from Bakhmut? Unfortunately, Witch is not in my brigade. I think you gotta follow the channel of that guy who makes updates together with her. And by the way, thank you so much for supporting Ukraine. I know that a lot of people in Uruguay support my country. How do you fight the insomnia question in Ukrainian? I don't fight insomnia. I cope with having insomnia. Actually, I bought some like vitamins, and currently I have like a small course of vitamins. I hope it will help. But because of taking them, I wake up like really early. I think like 3 hours of sleep are completely enough to me. Maybe I should take some other vitamins. Anyways, check out Ryan Macbeth channel and latest video on Bradley M2. I definitely will do that. Starsky in Bosnia, we used Zastavia 600 as our IFV. Oh. Where will your first holidays abroad be after the war? I think the closest country is Poland. But again, we have this dream together with my buddy Bogdan and Max to have like a small trip around Europe. And we will start with Poland and go all the way to Germany and Czech Republic, Slovakia, of course, France, Italy, definitely, and Croatia and Romania. Totally gotta visit this country. And return back to Ukraine, and they then fly all the way to the UK and drink with our friends from the Shills. When will you take out the Kerch Bridge? in order to answer this, I need to have a crystal ball and the Virgin Girl. Probably the Virgin Girl will be enough. Come to the UK and buy me a beer. The beer is on me. That's a deal. Russians in Makiivka were totally cured of insomnia. Yeah, specifically considering the fact they stored all of their ammunition in their barracks. I mean, what kind of ammunition could explode so bad to destroy all that facility? I think they probably stored their artillery shells and maybe some other explosives, because like RPG rockets don't explode like that. Like even if they had a lot of them, I don't think that would be enough to destroy that huge building, which collapsed completely. So I think they had some kind of artillery shells, big caliber artillery shells. After Ukraine wins, can you tell us all the things you knew but were not able to tell us while the war was being fought? Not much things to tell, actually, because, I'm mostly trying to explain things from my level, and my level is level of a press officer. Some things I know, some things I don't know. But I'm doing my best. Of course, there's OPSEC. Of course, some things I cannot tell you. Of course, some things that are rumors that I cannot confirm. Maybe I will tell them, but again, I always say that if I cannot confirm this information, don't bet on this. Блять, you see, Ivan, if we sleep on shells, they are not live no more. They are sleeping as well, so no worry. I love this one. Mines maybe too. Could be mines, by the way, because in case there was a storage of TM, so-called anti-tank mines, Soviet-made ones, they're big. And they contain plenty of explosives, and they could be definitely stored there as well. I remember oh my god, it was 2015. There was a truck with those TM mines mining the area, and something went wrong, and this truck exploded. So from all the people that were on board of this truck, I think only one leg was found. So those mines are amazingly powerful. All right. Will the separatist problem be automatically solved when Ukraine takes back the southeast? I don't think it will be solved instantly. The reason being is that in these 8 years of Donbass being partially occupied by Russia, almost a full generation was born. Generation of kids who never spoke Ukrainian, who never had a chance to speak Ukrainian, who never had a chance to learn their history, and they went to school. And in school, they were studying history of Russian terrorists who were represented as heroes in those books. Different thugs like Arseny Pavlov, Russian terrorist who arrived to Ukraine and led one of the terrorist groups in Donbass, and things like that. And of course, they were learning about Great Russian Empire, Russian world, and things like that. Those kids were raised learning stuff like that, and it's a big question how to reintegrate them back into Ukrainian society, because they were taught since a very, very small age that Ukraine is a Nazi country, that the whole world is Nazi and fascists and things like that, and they all want to kill Russians, them included. So we will have to find a way to reintegrate them. We will also have to find a way to reintegrate people who were fed this Russian propaganda for decades. And it will be a very, very hard task. I have literally no idea how to do that. I think it requires multiple specialists, psychologists as well, because you cannot just convince people who were brainwashed that all they know is wrong. I think it requires a lot of very, very hard work. Could you bring back banishment? Oh my god. I think people, of course, have this choice whether they want to live in Ukraine or move out to Russia. The difference with that is, people in Donbass never really asked for independence. They didn't want to be autonomous or things like that before Russia invaded. So all their life they were calling themselves Ukrainians, right? Even though they were convinced that Ukrainians, Russians, Belarusians, and yada yada, and Martians, they are the same people, right? According to Russian propaganda. But they were still calling themselves Ukrainians. It all changed like this in 2014 when Russian forces invaded, when numerous Russian agents and leaders and terrorists like Girkin, like Arseny Pavlov, like Borodai, Mozgovoi, I think, is also Russian, and plenty of other ethnic Russians arrived to Ukraine, and they convinced those people in Donbass that, guys, in just a couple of days, you will be part of Russia. And people were like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. It changed very, very fast. Nothing led to, to this. However, in Donbass, they had Russian propaganda very, very active for all those years. All kinds of Russian TV channels, and Ukrainian channels were scarce for some reason, I don't know. But the same thing was in Crimea, by the way. It's impossible to integrate those people after 8 years of aggression. Maybe yes, but people must understand, if you want to live in Russia, you can take your things and move to Russia. I will help with tickets. But I don't think they realize that. So Russian Russian philosophy reminds me of philosophy of ISIS, right? That say that where they have their own view of Islam. Of course, Islam is a peaceful religion, but they have their own view of it, and it says that according to beliefs of those ISIS terrorists, they say that if there's a Muslim, there's ISIS or something like that. And same thing with Russians. They say when there's people speaking Russian language, there's Russia, which is basically the same principle, right? And I see a lot of that actually. Oh, we have Nick from In Time Show. Hi, buddy. Very nice to see you. And by the way, tomorrow I will be with Nick at the In Time Show around. Is it 8 p.m.? Yeah, around 8 p.m. Kyiv time. Blow up the rest of the Kerch Bridge for Putin Christmas wish. So recently we saw a bunch of satellite images of Kerch Bridge, and apparently Russians didn't fix the automobile part of this bridge. So they kind of fixed the railway, right? But they didn't fix the rest of it. Because why bother? Of course, they stole a lot of money, as they usually do. Do you take sponsors? Not really. And actually, it's a funny thing because I'm constantly messaged by different marketing managers and PR managers of different companies, like I don't know, like NordVPN, computer games developers, and things like that, and they offer me to have like sponsorship. I think it would be kind of weird if I would promote or advertise such companies, because my channel became popular because of war, which is my personal tragedy. I would prefer, again, I'm saying it over and over again, but I would prefer being an unknown gaming YouTuber with 2 subscribers. But my channel became popular because of war. And I don't think it's appropriate to advertise other companies on my channel. I would rather advertise charity funds and organizations helping our soldiers, but not those. Have World of Tanks been in touch? Probably, could be. I mean, some of those emails I'm not even reading because my answer is no. I'm not going to promote computer games and things like that on my channel. After the war, maybe. Why not? On the bright side, you have new friends because of your channel, level 70. Yes, my friend, that's true. Of course, I'm still impressed that, even despite such a big tragedy that we have, which is a war, which is this completely unprovoked and horrible invasion in Ukraine, on the other hand, we acquired so many friends all around the world, and it's very important. New masterpiece song anytime soon or not enough time and inspiration? I have like a concept for 2 songs, but I still have to move rest of my things here and things like that. As soon as it's ready, I will publish it. And also, I'm proud that 2 months ago I published my song, The White Cross, on numerous music stores around internet, on Spotify as well. And I think I had something like 1,100 plays, which is great. I think it's something like 100 listeners, which is amazing. Is Putler seriously ill? Your thoughts? Again, I wouldn't bet on this. I trust facts, but for example, chief of Ukrainian intelligence, he said in his recent interview that actually, yes, Putin has something like some terminal disease, and I think he has some proofs of that. I trust our intelligence, and I think that they have reason to say that. Again, I wouldn't bet on his disease because it's like, it doesn't give you 100% guarantee. What is some of your favorite food? It's everything pasta and spaghetti. Starsky will be the next Brad Pitt after war. Maybe like Bogdan will be, or Brandon. Maybe some of them will be a new Brad Pitt. I will be like that Carl Pilkington. Yeah. I'm not as talented, of course. I think it's colon cancer, which left untreated, it can be deadly. So, yeah, another thing is that all kinds of doctors, if he's sick for real, I think all kinds of doctors provide him with all kinds of treatments, so he will live for quite a while yet. Please remember that countries as far as Southeast Asia supports Ukraine, and not just the Western world. I completely agree on that, and of course I remember. I think I had interview with Korean television. Seoul television. I had interview with one of my good friends from Japan, and just yesterday, wait a second, is it Thursday today? Yeah. Yesterday we had Japanese journalists visiting the airfield and talking about all those events of February last year, and actually, Japanese journalists are very brave. On the New Year, one of them was wounded during the terror Russian strike on Kiev. Slava Ukraini from here in Cambodia. I know that a lot of people from Cambodia are fighting in the Ukrainian International Legion against Russians. His cough didn't quite sound like lung cancer close though. I don't know how it sounds actually. Actually, I do. Unfortunately, I had such unfortunate chance to hear the way it sounds, but I'm not a specialist. I cannot tell you whether Putler coughs because he has lung cancer. As you are talking about weapons, what are your personal weapons? It's a horrible handgun called PM, made in Soviet times. It's AK-74 and my personal M4 rifle. I also have CZ 527, which is very, very convenient at the range of around 500-600 meters. If the attack from north comes, what is your status? It's rather when it comes, because we know that they are definitely preparing this attack. It's being delayed for different reasons, but they're definitely preparing this attack. They sent their reinforcements to Belarus, so probably you will see more of a combat footage on my channel. I missed that on February 24th. I have footage from February 24th, but it was already like a bit later after the battle in Hostomel at the airport. So yeah, so I will have a chance to fix that. Will Ukrainian forces go into Belarus if the attack comes? I think there's no chance. So one of the mistakes that you could notice during the invasion in Ukraine, and I'm talking about the earliest days of this invasion, is that Russian columns were just coming into cities and being destroyed. People don't attack like this, okay? And of course now we know that they didn't expect the resistance. They were convinced that Ukrainians will be meeting them and stuff like that. But it's so crazy. They believed that they would just come to Ukraine and say, Ukrainians, be Russian. And we will be like, oh, okay, why not? Like, guys, Americans, okay? I'm talking to you specifically. Imagine some people invade Alaska and occupy part of Alaska and, for example, part of California, and they say, Americans, become Russians, learn Cyrillics, okay, our alphabet, learn our language, and become Russians. It's so easy. You are almost there. You look like us. You even speak almost exact same language as we do. Yeah, different, but you speak words, and it's just like that. You cannot just become Russian. It's freaking insane. That's why we were killing the invaders, basically. Um, so the reason why Ukrainians, again, sorry for changing topics a lot. The reason why Ukrainians will not invade Belarus. However, I would freaking love to conquer Bobruisk. Bobruisk is a very nice city. So the reason why we will never do that is because attacking like this in columns is a freaking suicide. If you want to successfully capture some kind of territory, you have to develop your front line, and your front must be even. And whenever some unit on this front advances, all other units must advance as well. And it's a kind of what you learn in the officer schools, right? So Ukrainians will not do that because we will require a lot of people, a lot of vehicles, a lot of stuff that we need to protect Ukraine, to protect and control our territories. That's why it will not happen. If they invade New Jersey, I'd make them keep it. Oh my god. Do you think they will use paratroopers again? They could do that. The thing is, they've lost a lot of their elite troops. Of course, they mobilize people who served in airborne troops, and they can use them, but it will be a different sort of troops, a different quality of troops, I would say. I mean, if before this invasion, every expert was saying that Ukraine was gonna give up, nowadays every expert in the world says that if Russians invade Ukraine again through the northern Ukraine, like Chernobyl area, like Chernihiv or Sumy regions, it will be like the final battle of Russia. It will finish Moscow. It will finish Russia totally. So probably at some point we should expect them to come. When will the Patriot systems and Bradley tanks be ready for use in Ukraine? Nobody will tell you the exact date. Believe me. You need aerial dominance to fly in airborne troops. It's also true. Do you think Russian partisans are making an impact? I think they do, big time, because they not only they make their Russian troops suffer and experience deficit in fuel and ammunition and stuff like that. Also, Russian industry suffers because of that. Fire at some kind of fuel production facility is a big deal, actually, because this is something that brings Putin profit, right? I reckon it will be Lviv the Russians will go for. Oh my god. I think it's like the least like the last city on earth they want to go to, probably. Did you ever think growing up that Ukraine would be at the front of a war like this? Actually, I did. Because, guys, again, um, we live next to Russians for centuries, and we know what kind of people they are. Some of Ukrainians that say that we loved Russians actually either have some kind of relatives among Russians, and actually a lot of Ukrainians do, or they had this inferiority complex that, you know, if you speak Ukrainian language, if you don't look Russian enough, you are underhuman, right? You are lower race. Which actually descends from the Soviet times, because Russians had all kinds of benefits, and if you wanted to have some good career or reach anything in this life, you had to travel to Moscow and become a Russian. That's why everybody would laugh at Ukrainians if they spoke Ukrainian language and things like that. And nowadays they call us Nazi because we don't speak Russian, which is hilarious, but doesn't surprise me. Why not Lviv? Why Russians don't want to take Lviv? Basically because it's such an alien city to them. Historically, people in Lviv didn't like them. Okay, and the reason they didn't like them was because people in Lviv would rather travel westwards to European countries and see how they live instead of going east. And Lviv belonged to Ukraine. At some period of history, it belonged to Poland, and Ukraine and Poland both don't like Russia equally, absolutely equally, just as well as the rest of neighboring to Russia countries, like countries in Baltics, Georgia, and others. Lemberg, yes, Lemberg was an old name for Lviv, I think. Oh my god, it's 11:20. Okay, guys, I gotta wrap up. Unfortunately. Um, oh, and there's a last question: why Ukrainians not defending Crimea in 2014? Actually, we did. There were numerous military units stationed in there, but in 2014, Ukrainian army was so much ruined and almost non-existent and poor. So we realized that we barely had a chance to survive had we started something there. So our biggest achievement at that time, I think, is being able to evacuate all the military personnel as much as we could from Crimea, and because those were not the best people, but they were still military and experienced, and then we built our new army from scratch. So that's the reason. And there were victims, by the way. There was one officer shot in Crimea. He was shot by Russian snipers. There were numerous cases of Russians capturing Ukrainian ships and things like that. So there was there was some fight, I would say. Okay, guys, gotta wrap up. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. Spaghetti time. Yeah, probably. I have like pasta. I have like 4 packs of pasta and it's all the same. We'll see you later and be safe. My name is Operator Starsky. Thanks for watching.